You are a Saiyan, and according to your uncle, a very lucky one. He raised you for as long as you can remember. He wasn't really your uncle, just a friend of your father. Your parents were warriors, always too busy to take care of you. So he stepped in, because he wasn't like them. He wasn't strong enough to fight, so he worked as a cook instead. And apparently, he was a very good one. Even Frieza himself sometimes ordered one of his famous dishes. Life in the worker district was dull. The other Saiyans seemed stuck, bitter about not being warriors. They envied the ones who went off to fight, to conquer, to live the life of a true Saiyan. Your uncle didn't share their envy. He believed the life of a warrior was full of suffering, that it was better to stay behind. He said your father gave everything to make sure you'd have this life. You barely knew your father. You'd met him a few times, but he was always in a hurry, always leaving. Yet, your uncle spoke of him like he was a hero. He said your father and his friends were fighting for a better future, for something greater than this. You didn't really understand what that meant, but deep down, you wanted to believe it. You live like this for months, until the day everything changes. Without any warning, a group of Frieza's soldiers break into your home. They move quickly, grabbing your uncle. You try to stop them, but it's no use. They grab you too. Your uncle looks terrified, muttering under his breath about how they might have discovered the rebellion your father and his friends were preparing. The soldiers don't explain. They only say that you and your uncle should consider yourselves very lucky to believe in planet Vegeta. You are taken to one of Frieza's bases, a cold, lifeless place. There, they throw you into a massive warehouse filled with people of all shapes and forms, creatures and races from all across the universe. Yet, despite their differences, they all share one thing. They are cooks. Less than a day later, you overhear some guards talking. Planet Vegeta is gone. Destroyed by an asteroid, they say. Your uncle is devastated. He told you that he's sure that your father and his friends must have escaped. But his voice wavers, and his eyes give away the truth. He doesn't believe his own words. You feel lost. Everything you've ever known is gone. Your parents, your people, all of it wiped out in a second. And now, here you are. Just a child surrounded by strangers in an isolated planet. And that's how your new life as one of Frieza's slave cooks begun. Your uncle convinced the guards that he couldn't prepare his special dish without your help, hoping it would make both of you too valuable to dispose of. Your uncle had always known a lot about Frieza, but even he never imagined that Frieza cared so much about food, to the point of creating a whole division of the best cooks in the universe. It felt strange, but it wasn't long before another chef explained the real reason. This division wasn't truly for Frieza. It was for a god, one so powerful that even Frieza feared him. Frieza has earned this god's favor by doing his dirty work, but also finding the best cooks and the finest dishes was another way to stay in his good grace. That's when you started to realize that it was likely the reason you were both still alive. This god must have loved your uncle's dish. Life here was grueling. Every day was a fight to create perfection. Failure meant immediate execution. The stress of trying to meet impossibly high standards was crushing. Your uncle did everything he could to protect you. When he decided you were old enough, he told you everything. He spoke of the rebellion your father has been planning, of how he sacrificed everything to save you from both Frieza and the Saiyan government. He revealed that you weren't weak as you had always believed. The early test had shown that you were very strong, just like your father. He encouraged you to use your rare moments of free time to train, but you didn't do it. Years of servitude had crushed whatever Saiyan spirit you might have had. This life, as a slave cook, was all you had ever known, and you convinced yourself that it was all you would ever know. So you kept working, believing nothing would ever change. But recently, things have felt different. The soldiers seemed lost, like they don't know what to do or what was coming next. But it is clear, something is shifting. Until one day, the unthinkable happened. An army of hundreds of soldiers stormed the facility, breaking through with relentless force. Frieza's guards rushed to defend, and chaos erupted around you. The sounds of battle were deafening. For hours, the clash went on, leaving you and the other chefs huddled together in the shadows, too terrified to move. None of you knew who these attackers were, or what your fate would be once the dust settled. Eventually, Frieza's guards were overpowered, captured, and restrained. The attackers turned their attention to you. They approached cautiously, asking if everyone was alright. For the first time, someone spoke to you without barked orders or threats. They introduced themselves as the Galactic Patrol. They said they were there to save you. Your uncle was immediately suspicious. He knew of the Galactic Patrol, their reputation, their rules, and most importantly, their limits. While they despised Frieza's empire, they had always kept their distance, avoiding any direct confrontation. The patrol was too small, too scattered to take on something as massive as Frieza's army. So why now? Why take such risk? The leader of the rescue team explained that they would transport you to an organization, the Universal Association for Frieza's Survivors. There, you would find refuge and answers. As the transport carried you away, you felt numb. After more than 20 years of servitude under Frieza, it was impossible to grasp what was happening. Could this truly be freedom? But it was real. For the first time in your life, you were about to experience what freedom truly meant. When you finally reached your destination, you were told to wait for the leader of the association to come and speak to you. As the leader enters the room, you notice your uncle's reaction immediately. His face, hardened by decades of pain and fear, softens. His eyes well up with tears. It's the happiest you've seen him in the past 20 years. The leader was a Tuffle, an older man who moved with a quiet strength. Your uncle later explains he was once a close friend of your father, a member of the rebellion that had been forming against Frieza. The Tuffle greets you warmly and apologizes deeply for what happened to your father, and he begins to tell you everything. He survived because Frieza, seeing the Tuffles as valuable for their intelligence, had ordered their evacuation before destroying planet Vegeta. He confirms what your uncle always suspected. Planet Vegeta wasn't destroyed by an asteroid. Frieza destroyed it deliberately, ensuring that the Saiyans could never become a threat to him. The Tuffle explains how he continued the rebellion in secret, recruiting others from planets devastated by Frieza's rule. Over the years, he worked from within the cracks of Frieza's empire, waiting for an opportunity. And when Frieza was defeated, he joined forces with the Galactic Patrol to dismantle the remnants of Frieza's army and free those enslaved under his reign. You can hardly process it all. One question burns in your mind, and you finally ask it. Who defeated Frieza? The Tuffle looks at you, his face breaking into a smile. He says it was the one your father and the others had hoped for, the one they believed in, the savior of the Saiyan race. It was the legendary Super Saiyan. He tells you the story of Kakarot, another Saiyan survivor, who became the first to ascend to that legendary form and who struck down Frieza. As you listen to him, you feel something you've never felt before. For the first time in your life, you feel proud. Proud of Kakarot, and proud to be a Saiyan. You wanted to know more about this Kakarot. You asked if it would be possible to meet him. The Tuffle shook his head. He explained that he had once reached out to a scientist from the planet Kakarot had grown up, a close friend of his. From her, he learned the tragic news. Kakarot had passed away years ago, taken by a heart disease. Hearing this left you with an unexpected sadness, even though you had never met the man. Then you asked another question that had been lingering in the back of your mind. Does that make you and your uncle the last surviving Saiyans? The Tuffle thought for a moment before responding. He recalled that the same scientist had mentioned she had a son, one who was actually half Saiyan. If you included him, then the three of you were all that remained of the Saiyan race. But then, the Tuffle added something that stayed with you. He said that this half Saiyan too was able to become a Super Saiyan, which meant that with enough determination and hard work, you too could do it one day. Those words lit a fire in you. You felt that your father's dream could live through you. Kakarot became a symbol in your mind, much like Yamushi had been for your father, a reminder of what could be achieved. You swore to yourself that you would follow in his footsteps, and that you would become a Super Saiyan. You are transported to a planet where survivors of Frieza's reign gather, a sanctuary. The Tuffle told you to begin your training, warning that the day might come when your power would be needed. He didn't need to convince you. You were already consumed by your goal. Everything you had learned about the Super Saiyan transformation had catalyzed into a singular desire: to achieve it and fulfill your father's dream. You threw yourself into training, spending your days mastering energy manipulation and techniques. The planet became your crucible. Fighters from countless races taught you their martial arts and combat styles, forging you into a warrior with incredible diversity and adaptability. Your mentors came from every corner of the universe, each with something unique to offer. But despite all your progress, there was one barrier you couldn't break. No matter how hard you trained, the Super Saiyan form remained out of reach. You sought out every possible solution, even reaching out to the Half Saiyan from Kakarot's planet for guidance. He shared what he knew, but no matter how diligently you followed his advice, it didn't work. Nothing worked. And then, one day, while you were training, the skies turned sickly green without any warning, and faces of a green, weird-looking guy smiling started to appear in the sky. For a moment, the universe held its breath. And then, nothing. The universe was erased. At least, that's what happened in this timeline. In another timeline, you continue to train. You pushed yourself to the edge of your limits, trying to unlock the transformation that had eluded you. But no matter how hard you worked, no matter how many times you pushed past failure, the result was always the same. Eventually, the cracks began to show. You began to doubt yourself. You started to give up. After years of training with no success, a hard truth started to sink in. Maybe your father's dream was too big for you to carry. This thought makes you sad, but you tell yourself it's time to let go. Maybe this is the only way you can live a peaceful life. So you stop trying. Without the endless chase, life on Frieza's survival planet feels good. You start to notice the little things. People here are kind, and the planet is calm and safe. For the first time, you feel like you can just live. The only thing that worries you now is the news about the Frieza Force. For years, after Frieza's death, his army has been falling apart. Without him, they were disorganized and weak. The Galactic Patrol slowly pushed them back, and for a while, it seemed like their reign of terror might truly end. Then, the rumors started. The Frieza Force had found something, some kind of secret weapon, and with it, they were regaining their strength. Planet after planet fell to them, and the balance of power started to shift back. You try not to think about it, but deep down, the fear never leaves you. What if they find this planet? And then, one day, they do. It happens faster than you ever imagined. One day, a Frieza Force ship lands on your planet, close to the home you share with your now very old uncle. Fear grips you immediately. How did they find this place? How did they bypass the planet's security system? You brace yourself for battle, expecting an army to pour out of the ship. But when the doors open, you only see 3 people. One of them is Frieza Force's new secret weapon, a Saiyan. They don't attack right away. Instead, they say they have come to recruit you, and if you want peace for this planet, you'll have to join them. Your uncle tells you to stay back. He steps forward to face them, even as you beg him to stop. He tries to reason with them, speaking to the 2 Saiyans. He tells them the truth about Frieza, how he treated the Saiyans like tools, how he destroyed their home, how working for him, or his remnants, is a betrayal to their own people. But the words mean nothing. This Saiyan is beyond reasoning, too broken and brainwashed by his father and the Frieza Force to hear anything. Without hesitation, without mercy, he kills your uncle on the spot, as if it's nothing. And in that moment, your world shatters. Seeing your uncle fall, something snaps inside you. Anger fills your body, mixing with all the years of failure and pain. The air grows heavy, and the golden light surrounds you. You scream, and the power erupts, shaking the ground. When it's clear, you feel different. Your hair is gold, eyes sharp, and you've finally done it. You have become a Super Saiyan. You can finally feel it. The power you've dreamed of for years. The form you've trained so hard to achieve. It's finally yours. You feel unstoppable. You gather all your energy and rush towards the Saiyan who killed your uncle. Your mind is consumed by one thought. This is it. I am going to end him. But when the scene returns, you are laying on the ground. barely able to move. Blood and pain shoots through every part of your body. You look up and see him standing over you, completely unharmed. Not even a scratch from your attack. You realize it wasn't even a fight. It was a massacre. He manhandled you, as if all the power you had gained was meaningless. The form you worked so hard for, the dream your father had passed down to you, feels like a cruel joke. You finally achieved it, and it wasn't enough. It couldn't even scratch him. But even as you lay there, broken and defeated, you refuse to let him walk away with the satisfaction of an easy win. Through the pain, you force yourself to speak. There is another Saiyan, you say, far stronger than me. One day, he'll defeat you. He'll avenge all of us, the Saiyan race. Before you can finish your words, he silences you with a merciless strike, ending everything.
Why are there two of you?